real plates? Yes, there were. If anything in early Mormon history is well attested, surely the existence of the plates is. Let's consider the testimonies of several unofficial witnesses. The 16-year-old William Smith always remembered the night when his older brother Joseph outran pursuers. Okay, I have another slide here. Yes, there it is. When his older brother Joseph outran pursuers and brought the plates into the Smith home, William lifted the plates that night and estimated their weight at about 60 pounds. Joseph Smith's sister Catherine hefted the covered plates on several different occasions. She too recalled his arrival home with the plates and remembered that they were wrapped up in his frock. When he got to the door, he said, "Father, I've been followed. Look and see if you can see anyone." He then threw himself on the bed and fainted, and when he came to, he told us the circumstances. He had his thumb put out of place, and his arm was very lame. Her grandson remembered Catherine relating that when Joseph came in the house, he was completely out of breath. She took the plates from him and laid them on the table temporarily and helped revive him till he got breathing properly. Also treated his hand for the bruises on his knuckles. She said he entered the house running and threw himself on a couch, panting from his extraordinary exertion. Joseph allowed her to heft the package, but not to see the gold plates, as the angel had forbidden him to show them at that period. She said they were very heavy. Martin Harris says that he and his family lifted the plates in a box when they were first looking into Joseph's claims, and that he held the plates on his knee for a time while he and Joseph were preparing to hide them in the woods. He said that he had hefted the plates repeatedly. Harris put their weight at between 40 and 50, or another time between 40 and 60 pounds. Like his fellow witness David Whitmer, Harris gave the dimensions of the plates as 7 by 8 inches. William could feel the shape of the plates through the cloth that covered them. They were not quite as large as this Bible, he said. I could tell whether they were round or square. I could raise the leaves this way, raising a few leaves of the Bible before him. One could easily tell that they were not stone, hewn out to deceive, or even a block of wood. They were much heavier than stone, very much heavier than wood. I could tell, said William, that they were plates of some kind, that they were fastened together by rings running through the back. Now the rings, by the way, are a striking feature. We've already heard John Whitmer's testimony that there were 3 of them shaped like a capital D. Based on his interviews with 2 of the 3 witnesses, and especially with Hiram Smith, William McClellan also knew of connecting rings in the shape of the letter D, which he says facilitated the opening and shutting of the book, in the manner, I suppose, of modern 3-ring binders. David Whitmer also described the 3 D-shaped rings. It's difficult to imagine this degree of consensus regarding such an unusual detail if the plates were only imaginary or never uncovered. A brief article by Warren Aston, forthcoming in the Farms Insights newsletter, will examine the significance of these rings, and this is still under discussion, may point out a striking ancient parallel to them. Emma Smith, 2 months before her death, told her eldest son that the plates often lay on the table without any attempt at concealment, wrapped in a small linen tablecloth, which I'd given him to fold them in. I once felt of the plates as they thus lay on the table, tracing their outline and shape. They seemed to be pliable like thick paper, and would rustle with a metallic sound when the edges were moved by the thumb, as one sometimes thumbs the edges of a book. I moved them from place to place on the table as it was necessary on doing my housework. Herbert Salisbury, grandson of Joseph's sister Catherine, said that she told me that while dusting up the room where the prophet had his study, she saw a package on the table containing the gold plates, on which was engraved the story of the Book of Mormon. She said she hefted those plates and found them very heavy like gold, also rippled her fingers up the edges of the plates, and felt they were separate metal plates and heard the tinkle of sound that they made. In the face of such evidence, in order to protect his fraud, to supplement his faked said it were the experience of according to the unsealed portion. Urim and Thummim and the accompanying breastplate, ball director. The sword label and the Urim and Thummim were 2 white stones, David Whitmer told Wilhelm Poulsen in 1878, each of them cased in as spectacles are in a kind of silver casing. But the bow between the stones was more heavy and longer apart between the stones than we usually find in spectacles. Lucy Mack Smith examined the Urim and Thummim and found that it consisted of 2 smooth 3-cornered diamonds set in glass, and the glasses were set in silver bows, which were connected with each other in much the same way as old-fashioned spectacles. As to the breastplate, Lucy recorded that, quote, it was wrapped in a thin muslin handkerchief, so thin that I could see the glistening metal and ascertain its proportions without any difficulty. It was concave on one side and convex on the other, and extended the center of the stomach of a man of extraordinary mass of the same material for the breast, 2 of which ran back to go over the shoulders, fastened to the hips. They were just the width of 2 of my measured them, and they had them to be convenient in fastening. Even the receptacle in which the plates had lain hidden in the hill Cumorah has David Whitmer saw it. It was a stone box, he told Wilhelm, and the stones looked to me on the side of the hill, a little down from the top. The Chicago Times, who interviewed Whitmer in August 1875, 3 times seen in the tablets and Sears down to the was to be visited that historic place. Both the Chicago 85 testimony had been guided to the Hill Cumorah Smith on one occasion, during which they had seen the receptacle together. Secular historians are more inclined than Mormons to suppress source material from Joseph's closest associates, remarks Richard Bushman, since, he says, extensively from of those closest to the events, would tend to fuse modern narrative with their own faith, and would turn readers' attention to transparently sincere desire to obey or inclined to be true to the basic. Those who wish to experiences of witnesses clearly illustrate Professor Bushman's point.